Well, I've got like sometimes I've got my buddy like
okay.
yeah, like I got my buddy Fred. I got my buddy Fred who time to time he'll want to come over when I'm talking to like another athlete, another skater, something like that. And he doesn't necessarily like being on camera all the time, even though I drag his ass on there.
Right.
He wants to sit over in a chair so he can kind of sit there and heckle everybody.
I got you.
So anyway, but man, Peacemaker, finally get to have you on, brother.
Yes.
Man.
Are we're on, right?
We're recording now.
Good shit.
We're
Let's
good,
do
man.
it.
Dude, I actually it seems to be like right now we actually see each other. Right, I mean, we talk probably at least once a month right now.
Right.
But we see each other at least once a year. And the last time, because you just sold your house.
Correct.
A memory came up on Facebook of you and I at your last house. We were sitting in y'all's parlor.
We're sitting in a lounge.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, your daughter
Correct.
and your daughter took the
You
picture of
pulled
us.
up in the Batmobile, the black Corvette. Yeah, you're like, hey, I'm in the area. I'm at the gym. I was like, no shit, I know you're at the gym. Where else would you be?
Yeah, go figure.
Planet.
Right, go figure, right?
Right.
Yeah, man. So I was like, but you know what was really funny is because you and I had literally spoken maybe like a day, 2 days before Christmas, something like that.
Right.
We were running around and trying to kind of piece things together. You guys had just gotten back from the Dominican or something like that?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. How long were y'all there for?
We were there for 5 days. We actually went in September. It was my wife's birthday. It was her 41st birthday, and she wanted to do something big, so to speak. But we had a great time, man. We actually rented a vehicle. So, we weren't just in Puerto Rico. That's like the main island, so to speak, but there's surrounding islands. So we ended up taking a ferry out to Vieques, and it was fucking crazy. Like, they dropped us off in the hood. Like, really, there were people in there just kind of staring at us, and they had their hands in their pockets and shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this? But actually, man, it was amazing. There were a bunch of wild horses. We went into the Pacific, and we just had a great time celebrating, man. So we got to experience the culture out there. It was just great, man. It was a great opportunity for all of us to actually get out. But here recently, I actually just got back from L.A.
Yeah, I saw the pictures from that.
Yeah, I got back from L.A.
Yeah.
And so that was an experience, man. It's different. I say until you travel outside, we all have our gripes, in terms of where we live, this, that, and the other. There's pros and cons regardless. But L.A. was a different experience, man. It was kind of, it heightened my level of appreciation for Houston, surrounding areas, period. And I mean, that's all the way around, the housing market, just opportunities, diversity, everything like that. We have everything down here, the cuisine, with the influence from Louisiana. But out there, man, it was just, what caught my attention is the great divide, man. Those who have and those who have not.
Talking about the homeless
Oh, it's
population?
extremely apparent.
Yeah.
Extremely apparent.
Well, they said, I was listening to something that said that something like, if you've been to Austin, you went to Austin over the past, say, 3-4 years, there was a lot of homeless there.
Right.
They said in comparison, Austin had roughly 3,000 homeless.
Right.
There's roughly 3,000 people being out there homeless. Mm-hmm. Whereas opposed to you have in LA, California, you have something in the neighborhood of like 500,000.
Dude, there's no comparison. Like, I think here recently, I don't remember the title, but on Netflix, they had a special, and they were speaking to that, like the effects of COVID, this, that, and the other. But, that's something that's always been there. I think it's mostly been the condensed population really being Skid Row.
Yeah.
Which we have a crazy story where we ended up in Skid Row like a Jack in the Box because there wasn't shit open. Like, the 24 hours Denny's was fucking closed, and we were starving. And so we ended up in Skid Row, man. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I mean, there's certain areas in Houston where you can pass by, under 59, where they kind of cleaned it up a little bit. They, put the barricades and whatnot. But man, it was just fucking crazy, man, and it was so casual.
Like, it was
so
just
casual. Like, these encampments, the like the police, they're patrolling and whatnot. They didn't fuck with them. It's just like it's just a part of, just, it's the norm.
What life is supposed to be like there.
Fucking norm, and it's crazy.
Well, I don't know if you saw, I I had Amber, a friend of mine named Amber Coyle.
Right.
She
I
came
remember.
on, and she lives in L.A. right now.
Right.
She's from here. Grew
Right.
up in Tomball.
She's talking about somebody shitting like right.
Yeah, outside
I
of
was like, what the fuck?
She was like, this is where this guy apparently like shit and pissed on a daily basis.
Wow.
Right outside of her garage.
Right.
And it was right in the spot where she had to like step up to push the code to get into her
Right.
fucking garage. So it's like
Right.
she had to, you know, literally go through that. And there was nothing they could do.
Right.
Nothing anybody would do.
Right.
And they were right outside. She lived, like she said, Paramount Studios was in her backyard.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. And I mean, you know, there's certain sets up, you know, in terms of like gentrification in certain areas, 3rd Ward, 5th Ward. Like you can be on one road and then one road over, I mean, there's $1 million homes. And
Yeah.
then the next road over, you have, you know, it's the projects, literally.
Yeah.
And but for me, man, you know, I try to learn lessons in everything.
Sure.
I try to understand, and then I try to put myself in that position. And really, it just being exposed to that, man. I mean, you're confronted with it everywhere. And we were in downtown Los Angeles, literally the fighters. We went to watch the fight. And literally the fighters, all the stars, this, that, and the other were in our hotel. We stayed in the JW Marriott, which is attached to the Ritz-Carlton. And it's LA Live, the Staples Center is like literally you walk out the back of the hotel and you're there.
Yeah.
They had the final weigh-in. It was just like, it's just how it seemed like everyone was so oblivious. You know what I mean? Like it was so normal and so casual to have these disparities around them. And it's like, they didn't give a fuck. But for me, it just...
Even like at the Ritz-Carlton or something like that.
I'm always fucking reminded of how fortunate I am.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about the experiences. And it's not based on what's in my bank account. It's not necessary. It's just, I'm aware. I'm extremely fucking aware, man. And I felt a certain way about that, man.
Yeah.
I felt a little bit helpless as well. You know, because I'm not the type of guy that'll see someone on the corner and just give them $1.
Right.
Like, I'm more the type of guy, like, I want to see my money work.
Yeah.
And so if you need something from me, hey, you're hungry? Okay, well, there's a burger. Come on, let me buy you a burger as opposed to putting money in your hand. I don't know what you're going to do with it. I'm that type of person.
Yeah, I got a buddy who lives in downtown Houston, lives in a condo in downtown Houston. And, of course, you know, the homeless population down there is not nearly severe. They're not camping on the streets, but there's a lot of them.
Right.
There's a lot of homeless down there. And when he lives down, he walks down the street. You know, he's just constantly walking around. There are constant people asking him for money, this, that, and the other. And he's gotten to the point where he literally says to him, when's the last time you filled out a job application?
Right.
You know, why am I just going to give you $1?
Right.
And look, I think we can all understand that,
Right.
like, not everybody is homeless. You know, is a scam. You know, there are legitimate people with mental conditions and whatever. But I think something like the statistic is something like 70. It's somewhere between like 70 and 80% of the like homeless population are homeless by choice. Like there are resources for them to not be homeless. Either, you know, like there's like in LA, I'm sure there's a tremendous amount of kids that choose to live on the streets because they don't want to be around their parents or whatever.
Right. Definitely.
I mean, you hear about that all the time.
Definitely.
I'm not sure what that's like in every city.
Right.
But still, I mean, that's you're right. You don't want to just
There's a certain level of accountability.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to help you, I want to know that I'm actually helping you.
And I know this may be an
what I mean?
ignorant statement, but if I'm driving down the
Clearly
road,
you're in a circumstance.
Yeah.
Whatever took place prior to you actually being in the circumstance, to some extent, there's probably some decisions made.
Yeah.
Whether good or bad, right? And so for me, if I'm going to give something my resources, and again, I'm not a hard ass. Like I don't mind assisting, and I'm not delusional either. I don't figure that I'm here to help every fucking body.
Right.
Like I take each instance into consideration. Like if I'm in a position to be able to assist, then I will. If I'm not, then I don't worry about it. But I also use a certain level of discernment.
Yeah.
Like you can't bullshit me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't bullshit me. Like I know. And so when I feel the urge to actually, you know, contribute, then I will. But outside of that, I'm not trying to figure out who's scamming this, that. That's too fucking much for me. Like I just try to you know, be of an assistance where I can, man.
You
I
know,
don't give it too much thought.
You try, yeah, I understand you try, but then there's times, like I said, you know, I could drive down the road and where I go to the gym, there's on every corner at this intersection, 1960 and 249, every corner, at every spot, there's somebody out there panhandling, looking for money.
Right.
And it's like they rotate in and out. Like they maintain their claim for that.
Definitely be a hustle. Yeah, definitely.
But then I see there's this one lady who stands out there, and she's got to be. She's probably young. She's probably in her early 30s, something like that. But she's got to be 300 pounds. And she's standing there. It's not like she's having a problem walk. She's a very large woman. And she's literally holding up a sign saying homeless and hungry. And I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, look, I know like there's the whole medical condition when people get big and all that stuff. I understand that. Right. But at the same time, if you are homeless and hungry, you are not going to still be 300 pounds. Right. You're going to there's going to be some type of like shriveling to that. Right. And so so in my mind, and I know that's probably maybe not the best thing or the right thing to do, but in my mind I start thinking, is this a fucking hustle? Like where's her Mercedes-Benz parked? Yeah. Like is she going to walk across the street after she gets money and she finishes her 8-hour day? Right. Is she going to go get into a nice fucking Nissan or some shit like that?
Yeah, being intuitive has its benefits, man. Like I said, I'm not the type of person that's trying to, I have great intentions, but I'm not a dumbass, in the same regard. So it's like, I try to assist where I can, and I mean that gives me I can deal with my conscience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to be a good human being.
But I do understand, in terms of mental health, I understand all of these things, but it is what it is. But like I said, that trip, man, was very eye-opening outside of the experience of actually being around all the stars, this, that, and the other. I tend to operate on a different frequency. I'm very empathetic and things like that. But that particular part of the experience of that trip, man, that hit me the most.
Even because you were talking about going to a place like Puerto Rico, would you say if you're going to LA, because Puerto Rico dealt with the hurricane and all that
they're
stuff.
Still recovering.
Right. But you're looking at a place like Puerto Rico, and what you're talking about sounds, LA sounds like it was, as far as like the poverty and the devastation to the city is worse in LA. Or is it
apparent?
Or does it just look normal, kind of more normal versus like the glitz and glamour of LA, the backdrop of this?
Yeah, man. You can definitely be deceived. What we see through media, man, is definitely, they're always going to put the best foot forward. I understand, because I would do the same thing. You know what I mean? I'm going to put the best foot forward. Yeah, I'm not going to say, hey, come visit LA and then have all this footage from fucking Skid Row. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I understand it. I understand marketing. So, but outside of that, like I said, man, it's just a different vibe. Yeah. It's just a totally different vibe. We rode up into the mountains, man, into Glendale, and it was totally different.
Y'all rented bikes out there?
No, we actually had a vehicle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had a vehicle. So we went up into Glendale. We're looking for different lounges. I like to have that experience. And so we ventured out a little bit, but it was totally different, man. Totally different vibe. You can tell the difference. And like I said, man, that's just something that stood out to me, and it was beneficial in the sense that it made me it deepened my level of appreciation for where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
In my life.
Yeah.
And I'm, like I said, I'm always mindful of those who are without. I'm not the type of person that tries to save everyone, but in those instances where that opportunity presents itself, I capitalize. But it was a great trip, man. Great guys trip.
Yeah.
Oh, and my wife sent me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
She didn't go with you on this one?
She didn't go.
No.
Yeah, she didn't go, man. So it was supposed to be a surprise, but she can't hold water when it comes to surprises. Like, she fucking spilled the beans. And, with the transition of the move, I've gained a certain level of maturity.
Yeah.
Mostly by the influence of my wife. I'd say that she's been an adult far longer than I have. She's been a fucking adult far longer than I have.
Uh-huh.
But, I didn't want to go. I made mention of it, but I didn't actually want to go because we're moving. We're already, there comes a certain level of financial responsibility when
a lot
you're
going
moving.
on.
I don't give a damn. When you're a homeowner, expect it. And so I didn't want to do it, but she's stubborn in her own way, and it was so beneficial, man. I never did a guys trip. I hang with the guys.
Yeah.
I don't have all these fucking restrictions on me from my wife. She's extremely open-minded. I've known her for forever. I've actually known my wife since elementary. But she sent me on a guys trip, man. It was eye-opening. It was a great experience, and I don't have any complaints. But I came back to Texas with a deeper level of appreciation, man. Hey, Houston, surrounding areas, We're the shit.
We are fortunate.
We
here.
are extremely fortunate.
Lucky. Yeah.
Extremely fortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually had
even in terms of being able to maneuver.
Yeah.
With COVID, you.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Access points.
Yeah.
Like, you better have these fucking vaccines or your ass is standing outside.
Which I find completely asinine in a place like LA, especially in a place like LA where it says, I mean, they made it was obviously, we don't have to go down the road of politics and stuff like that, but it was made so apparent that they wanted everybody to have the opportunity to vote. And you could show up to vote and you did not need an ID. You did not need proof of residency. You didn't need shit.
What did you need?
You didn't need nothing. You just show up and here's your fucking face. But now if you want to go to Starbucks, you better have your driver's license and your vaccine card.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to me.
Oh, that's very real. Like, I was already vaccinated. Like, I didn't want to be the first wave of people to get vaccinated, right?
Like buying a brand new car, new first model.
I didn't want to be the first one. I don't work out all the kinks. I didn't want the Johnson & Johnson baby oil in my fucking veins either. But, my wife being a medical professional, man, they actually paid her. There were incentives. Let's put it like that. They incentivized, being vaccinated.
Yeah.
But it made sense because with a little bit of foresight, I know that I'm going to be traveling. I know that I'm this. So in order to be able to maneuver, like yesterday, I went and did my yearly physical and I got a booster shot. So my fucking arm is sore right now. But I got my booster. I got my third shot. And, I know everybody has their opinion about it, but I say to each his own, man. To each his own, And so dealing in LA, though, if you didn't have that fucking vaccination, man, if you didn't have proof of it, your ass was not gaining access, man.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's asinine, man. The requirements that they have now, it's this goes, this doesn't go. And it's like, what the fuck? This doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, but I'm the type of person, hey, fuck it, it's your rule. If I want to be able to maneuver inside of your world, sometimes I have to play the fucking part.
Yeah, I do. And obviously, me personally, I'm not going to get vaccinated. That's my choice.
I can cuss, right?
You say what the fuck you want to say.
Continue. I've been cussing, man.
Yeah, you can say what the fuck you want to say.
Drinking his spring water. Fuck purified.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But yeah, what you say?
Personally, I'm not going to get vaccinated.
Right.
I've had it. I caught it in the very beginning. I'm classified as a first responder.
Ditto.
I caught it in the very, very beginning
Ditto.
of 2020.
Right.
So, I mean, we were tracking this all the way since December of 19. I was going to the Bahamas in December of 19. Was dealing with a bunch of international stuff. We already knew this was coming down. Okay. And so personally, I had been around a bunch of people and I got it. I got it and I got sick and I recovered. I have now to this point been around, I mean, I've probably been exposed about 500 times and I've not gotten it again. I've been tested 7-8 times and every time it has come back negative. So personally, I won't get it. Right. But I have the same exact point of view as you. Hey, to each his own. I got a shitload of friends that have the vaccination. Some were personal decisions, some were work-related decisions.
Right.
To each their own, that kind of thing. I also look at it from this perspective that we talk about like the vaccine, the testing mandates and stuff like that.
Correct.
You have a choice. You do have a choice to choose where you work. I don't think that if you got employed somewhere that didn't have this discussion up front, like if you get employed somewhere right now in this current environment, you better expect that you have to adhere to the rules and regulations that set forth for code. But if you've been working somewhere for 8, 9, 10 years prior to all this shit, and then all of a sudden they're going to say, hey, you're going to lose your fucking job.
It's a hard decision.
Yeah.
Man.
And the worst one that I see is, you see your medical professionals.
Right.
You see your police officers. You see your firefighters. You're talking about medical professionals that are willing to don a gown to, and be sprayed with blood should somebody, come into the ER and potentially have hepatitis or some other bloodborne pathogen. You got firefighters that are choosing to run into burning buildings to risk their life. Police officers that are willing to risk their life for the betterment of the people. Military. And you have them all being told that you're going to be fired if you don't take the vaccine when they've been putting their lives on the line for years for the betterment of everybody else. And all of a sudden they're being called selfish and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to swallow.
Definitely. It's definitely a hard thing to swallow with consideration for all the factors that you just listed. But as an individual, I would have to look at it. And of course, I'm a pretty stubborn individual. Like I'm stubborn.
No.
I'm fucking headstrong.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Bullshit. I have a stance. Yeah, I have a fucking opinion on everything. But I guess for me, the decision boils down to, and I understand why people don't want to get it. I understand all the things, maybe health concerns, they might be allergic to an agent that's a part of, I understand all this shit.
Well, I mean,
For
what
me,
was
it
it?
would boil down to, it would be very simplistic, man. It would boil down to, I need to make this living in order to support for my family.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it. Or because I am the type of person I've always been willing to reap the benefits or suffer the consequences. I accept both. Acceptance is a motherfucker. And I think a lot of people, you have to look within, man. So are you willing to accept the consequences? Whether or not I agree with it, like I have to understand this is your world. When I talk to clients, I take out my fucking grill. Like, you know what I mean? Like I understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to, if I'm stepping into your environment and I'm expecting something from you, whether it's employment, whether it's whatever it is, sometimes I kind of have to play the part.
Yeah.
And I'm a stubborn, headstrong individual. Like, hey, I have the luxury of being able to choose. You know what I mean? Some people don't. But I think those individuals that walk away from that situation, no one wants to feel like they're being forced to do any fucking thing.
Nobody.
No one wants to feel like something is being imposed upon them. No one wants to feel like they're out of control. Like I don't have a fucking, I understand that.
Right.
But for me, it would be, hey, I need to provide for my family.
Sure.
So in the meantime, while I'm trying to figure something else out that could potentially lead me away from that situation where I'm having something imposed upon me, then I'm just gonna do my dance, so to speak. But again, I say that to say from my perspective, but I don't want to diminish the how difficult that could be for some people. You know what I mean? Because of their stance, because of their beliefs, because of whatever. And so, but again, man, it's a weird time that we're living in. We're having to make adjustments, man.
Yeah,
we're having to make adjustments.
Look, I've got a really close friend of mine. He works for trade. He works in the trading on the trading floor for I forgot the name of his company, but he trades energy. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm. We can call it Enron. I don't fucking know.
I love Enron.
Yeah, love it. But they this is what he does. Well, it's really funny because he won't get vaccinated. Now he's had COVID, suffered all that stuff. He's healthy and fine now, but he's had it. And this man he can return to work, but they have a segregated pen. They literally have all the unvaccinated people on one floor.
He's an ad city.
Yeah, and
get your ass up there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so they've got all the unvaccinated people on one floor and all the vaccinated people on another floor. Right. The problem is he's a fucking team leader. And he's like the I want to say he's something along the lines of the company inclusion director kind of thing. He's a black man. And he literally was told by somebody in his organization that we are going to segregate you. Now imagine that. Today's modern world where we live with all the other things going on, you have a black man who's not only a black man, but he's an intelligent, extremely kind, wonderful individual, great father, great husband, great friend, and is having to be told just because he don't want to get vaccinated. He literally was told he's being segregated from everybody else, and there's like 7 people. 7 people. Yeah. And he's like the inclusion manager. It's like how like I guess where does that report go?
Is he still able to perform? Like his duties?
He could perform.
Fuck it, man.
He could perform from home. He could stay home the whole time.
Yeah, that's what I would ask for. Hey, can I do this shit from the house?
He could literally do the whole goddamn thing from home.
And like I said, man, I'm big on accountability. Like, I understand being asymptomatic and this. Like, I don't want to potentially, but you don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean? Unless you take a test, this, that, and the other. But I understand, man. I wouldn't want to potentially cause harm to someone who has a weakened immune system, whatever the case may be. But in that scenario, hey, if you're still cutting that fucking check, cut that check, then we'll be all right.
See, I think what
I don't know the functions of his particular role, but if I can still do that, you know,
he can do it all from home, from his house. He's got 3 computer screens in his office.
Let me stay at home.
Stay at home. He doesn't need to go into the office.
Yeah.
Hell, he lives way up here and he's got to drive downtown.
Why do
Houston
I have
all the
to
time.
drive down here to be segregated?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that would be my concern. Like, fuck, I can save on gas money. Can I stay at home and
Exactly.
do this? Like, it doesn't affect my role or anything like that. I wouldn't want to drive into the office.
What really
And
trips
it'll
me
save
out
you money.
is as you look at everything, you see this, and I think you can understand this
Right.
being where we've been. That there becomes a large part of self accountability.
Right.
You don't. It's not necessarily you're doing what's best for everybody out there, but you're doing what is right in general.
Right.
Simple things: washing your hands, staying away from people that are sick. If you're sick, stay the fuck at home. Don't
Right.
go out anywhere. And it seems like for some reason we're having to have a re-education of the most simple, basic like things.
Basic shit, man.
Like we know now that it's not like a contact thing. Like you and I could
Right.
shake hands and it's not going to be transferred from me to you kind of
Right.
thing. It actually has to be like me sneezing on you or
Right.
something like that. You have to have that experience. It's like
Right.
airborne. But like we have to instruct people to like, hey, sneeze into your fucking arm.
Hey, if you're having fucking symptoms, just sit your ass down. Because
Yeah.
now the requirement is for this particular variant is 5 days.
5 days. Yeah.
Like they're trying to get you back out into society, trying to get you back out into work. Like sit the fuck down.
can stay
for
the fuck home
5
for 5
days,
days.
man.
Yep.
5 days and you'll be all right. And so, you know, and
Well,
I had my experience when the first time that I had it, it was like I found out like the day before it was supposed to be a turn up. Like we were gonna celebrate a friend of mine's birthday party, and I set my ass down like for 10 days. My wife, you know, it was around Christmas time last year, and she was like, "Hey man, like let's go to." I was like, "Nah, I'll just self quarantine. I'll sit down for 14 days." I went in, had confirmation, and I mean it was very minor symptoms. So they had a requirement, hey, just sit your ass down for 10 days. So it worked to my benefit, man. But you know, again, if accountability, man, we hold ourselves accountable. So I felt a certain way, and I was just like, hey, fuck it, I'm gonna just stay away from everyone, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit down till I feel better, and then I'll come back out and play.
And why do we have to, as a society,
Adults,
as adults, in
Fuck.
the most advanced well, I guess we're falling behind in other places, but we're in the most advanced society in history.
pretty fucking advanced.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
how is it that we get to the state where we're at, and you still got to instruct people to do the most common sense kind of things,
Hey man, again, there's a ripple. You know, there's a ripple. I mean, we have all this convenience. We have all of these luxuries afforded to us in the United States.
Yeah.
Period. We have a lot afforded to us, and it's just sometimes people have a hard time who haven't had certain experiences in their life.
Yeah.
Have a hard time adapting to change. I'm thankful that I'm not one of those individuals.
Well,
Like,
no,
you
you're an extremely educated, well-rounded person. Shh. Don't want to let that secret out.
I'm a thug.
That's right. I'm a gangster. That's right. Peacemaker. Maybe we'll get to that story. That's right.
here.
Educated black man. That's right. That's the first thing I noticed when you
I put
when
it
you
there
pulled
for a
up.
reason because I like to see people's reaction to it, and I get mixed reactions, and it's always
See,
fucking entertaining.
I talk about you all the time, and I tell
I saw
everybody.
that, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I do. I talk about you all the time because I think honestly, in my opinion, as a human being, I think you're one of the greatest human beings I know.
Holy shit.
As and just in a general sense of a human being, I think you're literally one of the greatest human beings I know.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Deeply appreciate it.
You came from a great life when you were younger.
Right.
Went through a horrible fucking circumstance, we'll call it 20 years of a bunch of bullshit. I mean, and then granted, like you said, you make the decision, you accept the consequences.
Like a
you know,
motherfucker. Before I made the decision,
that's right.
I accepted the consequences.
That's right. But
I played it
now,
out.
like, I look at you and I think about all that stuff, and I tell people all the time, I talk about you as literally one of the greatest human beings I know.
I appreciate
Like,
it,
I
man.
put you, I literally put you at the list. I mean, we've known each other now for about 10 years.
I'm not Christ. But
No, you're pretty close, right? Black Jesus.
No. Holy shit. We're going to figure out that it's not water
Yeah,
in here.
we're getting, this one's getting thrown off YouTube.
Holy shit. Oh, man. Kids, if you're watching.
No, I actually, when I do these, when I make all these recordings, like I have to set them to where it says like not suitable for children and things
Yes.
like that. So like it will not get presented to anybody who's logged in as an under 18 audience.
Right.
So because I actually have to put on there saying we're cussing and swearing and that there's adult content. So which is cool. I got no problem with because I want to cover adult topics. I mean, I'm a fucking 40-year-old man. Yeah.
Good shit,
digging. I mean, look, who doesn't want to be like Ryan's toy review and make $28 million a year on YouTube for just unpackaging toys, but at the same time, like I want to cover some deep shit, you know?
Right.
But no, like I said, I put you right there. My best friend is Fred. Known him for 30 years. I think he's an outstanding, phenomenal human being. My mother, someone like that. There's a couple people I know from the world of skating and stuff like that, business around the country. I literally put you in this category as truly one of the greatest human beings I know. Because of our differences and our similarities.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's definitely some similarities.
Yeah, it's quite a few of those.
Right.
I mean, we both black.
Right.
We're both black. You know what I'm talking about?
That's obvious.
Shit, right?
Oh shit.
But mostly for the fact that, man, like I said, you and I have had a lot of conversations.
Yes.
Over the past 10 years.
Yes.
You and I have been fortunate to have some of those deep, like, thinking man conversations.
That those other fuckers weren't capable of.
No, God no. Yeah, everybody else out there was concerned about literally their sole concern was what was for lunch or dinner.
What the right?
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, you're gonna go home if you have that opportunity. You're gonna return home. Like, you might want to prepare.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just a little bit.
Open your mind just a little
prepare,
bit,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting, man. I appreciate the compliment, first off.
Yeah.
And again, man, and
It's
I can say
it's
the same about you, and it's just not just blowing smoke up your ass, but one of the main things that I can say from our experience and our time spent together in a very confined, where we had to confront each other on a daily basis, was that your level of consistency. And that your level of consistency and being unique to who you are. In that environment, I know people didn't like Husk because he was a smart ass. Well, I too am a smart ass, right? Like, and I can give a fuck about your opinion. Like, and for me, man, being a smart ass is there takes a certain level of, the confidence that's dictated by knowing who you are.
Yeah.
You know who you are. I know who I am, and I won't allow you to compromise that. You know what I mean? And when you take that stance from people who want you to be who they want you to be, that's their first little thing. That's their first accusation. Oh, you're an asshole. Well, thank you. It's a compliment because I know what it takes to be one.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that.
Yeah.
I don't mind that because I understand that my intentions are fucking great.
Absolutely.
And they're not solely rooted in my benefit. You don't understand what I'm saying?
Which is what you feel like you're around there a lot. Like everybody there they're trying to get mine. They're trying to they're how this works out for them. There's some type of hustle. There's some type of angle. And unfortunately,
extremely simple.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned something. I had Emmanuel Moss on the other day,
right? And
he talked about intentional. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no such thing as failure as long as your actions are intentional.
Right.
Like, if you gave purpose, if you went out there and you did what you felt was the right thing to do, mm-hmm. if you make the effort to be genuine and true to who mm-hmm. you are, hey, man, you might get punched in the fucking lip or you might get celebrated, but there's no such thing as failure if you're being true to who you are and you're being intentional about that process. One thing I tell everybody, I mess around with everybody, is something I actually always heard you say, and I giggled and I laughed and I just every time I heard you say it is when anytime anybody there was conflict or someone saying some shit, you'd be like, well, you can't beat me up. Mm-hmm. You can't beat me up. Mm-hmm. And I say that to people and they're like, oh, you're one of those people. Oh, you think that? No. I think it's
and I wasn't violent.
No, I
wasn't violent, but
they missed the point of that. They missed the point of that. The point of that
completely went over the fucking head.
It's not to say, hey, that I'm physically better, superior to you, or I can fight better. That has nothing to do with it whatsoever. It says, number one, I'm smart enough not to put myself in a position where I have to fight with you and defend myself in this type of environment that's going to risk my ability to go home. Number two, if it does come down to that, mm-hmm. you may get one time,
but you'll lose.
but you're going to ultimately lose when it's said and done.
I've already assessed everything about you.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting there focused on some bullshit. While you're sitting there focused on that bullshit, I've already made an assessment. I'm determined you will not win.
Yeah. And they miss it all together, just simply say, oh, well, I'm a man. I'm do this. I'm do. And that's not what it's about at all. It's not a swinging dick competition. It's the it's honestly, it was the nicest way of saying, hey, you're a fucking dumbass, and I'm going to outsmart you here on this. You don't want to go down this road because you're just going to get embarrassed.
It's crazy that you're speaking about this because people have this, they don't really know where the name Peacemaker comes from.
Yeah.
The name Peacemaker, man. And it speaks to that point. And it's a choice. It was a choice for me. Let me address that first. It was a choice for me to outsmart you as opposed to whip your ass.
Right.
Because I understand in me putting my hands on you, especially in that environment, and even now being in society, being on parole. Like, I understand there's certain consequences, and me being the type of person that's willing to suffer them, I'm not willing to suffer it for those individuals, those type of individuals. So I'll outsmart you as opposed to taking it to a level where I feel as though I've given you a certain level of control over me by putting my hands on you. So it's the difference between brains or bronze. And that was a calculated decision for me, especially in that environment. Because entering that environment, prior to me committing my crime, I accepted everything. I knew the potential outcomes. There were 3: death, penitentiary, get away. There were 3, and I accepted all 3 of them because I felt that me getting involved was greater than me not getting involved, because it was actually a sacrifice, and I don't want to be esteemed for that. I don't want to glorify my wrong decision. Let's just put it like that. In hindsight, it benefited me, but now, in the moment, it was a bad decision. Bad decision. But Peacemaker speaks to all of us, the duality of being a human. There's lightness and there's darkness. And I think which one appears is a great influence is based off circumstance. I can ask anyone, I can put you in a situation where you say, I never committed crime. I'll never do this. I'll never do this. Until you're confronted with circumstances that has you to rethink your approach. Let's say the hurricane. What was the one? The one in there's been
Katrina?
Several. Yeah, fuck it, Katrina. Let's go. Where let's say there's a supermarket, right? It's closed. Clearly, there's no one there. If I go inside of this place, I'm robbing it.
Yeah,
I'm robbing it, right?
Yeah.
But I have someone standing beside me that's hungry. That's this, that, and the other. My grandmother. It doesn't matter who it is, right? Yeah. Well, for me, it's an easy decision.
Absolutely.
I know what I'm not supposed to do. That doesn't mean that I don't have any. I know exactly I know the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
But for me, it's an easy decision. I'm going in there. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to take care based off the circumstance.
Absolutely.
But anyway, Peacemaker, man. I know I'm jumping around. I tend to do that. Peacemaker.
That's what this is for, man. That's what that shit is.
Chaos.
That's right.
And I'm a chaotic individual. So Peacemaker speaks again to the duality of being a human, the human experience, man. There's darkness and there's light, depending on the circumstance. For me, Peacemaker is also a Colt 45, which is a weapon, which is not to me about being a killer or this, that, and the other, but it's about defending. For me, it speaks to defending the things that I love, whether it be my family, my friends. I'm willing to sacrifice for them. That part. Peacemaker also in biblical terms is, the peacemaker will be called sons of God. Mm-hmm. So that speaks to my spirituality. I'm not a religious individual. I don't abide by a lot of fucking rules.
Yeah.
Hey, if you do, hey, great, man, because I think it takes a certain level of discipline to be able to do that. And I can appreciate that. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
So I'm a spiritual individual. So I've combined the two. It speaks to who I am as an individual. And again, depending on the situation, how I will respond. But for me, I found that it's better for me to think than not to think.
Yeah.
It's better for me to give consideration to what I'm getting involved in.
Yeah.
And so that's what Peacemaker is.
Yeah. Well, I remember we had this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the chain room. We had this conversation. You got this big ass fucking tattoo across.
Right.
Hey, my buddy Fred. Fred shows up.
There's a guy off camera.
Yeah.
So
There's
I
my
know
buddy
this
Fred.
is the best friend because you just mentioned him.
I did just talk about him.
Hey,
yeah.
everybody, Fred's over here. You can't see him, but he's here. There he is. How you doing, Fred? Very nice to meet you, man. He literally just mentioned you.
No, man.
No interruption.
You want to hang out? Pull up the chair. Sit down in the chair.
Don't heckle me.
Microphones. Hey, throw that shit on the floor. You good? You're just hanging out for a little while, man. Yeah? You just coming over hang out?
Yeah, I was on my way back from Cat Spring.
Okay. Well, hang out for a minute, man.
Okay.
We're just getting in.
Talking a bunch of bullshit.
We're getting into the
I got
story.
your bills out of your mouth.
Oh man, fuck that.
Yes.
Put that back. Put them all back. Put all the bills back.
Being an
Yeah,
adult.
man. Throw that shit on the floor. Sit down in a chair, man. No, we're just getting into the conversation of where Peacemaker comes from.
Oh,
So
man.
we were actually in the chain room. We were sitting there. We were talking in the chain room.
Right.
And you've got this tattoo across you.
Right.
And we started talking about it. It's on your back. It's across your
Correct.
shoulders.
Correct.
And I was fucking with you a little bit. And I was like, oh yeah, well that's you going out there, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to be the peacemaker, make friends with everybody because you're a friendly kind of guy, all this shit. And you're like, well, it's also a gun.
Oh yeah. I did my research.
And I'm like, all right, motherfucker,
yeah.
all right. So
Depending on the circumstance.
Yeah,
if we have to take it to that level, then we have to take it to that level. And like I said, it'll be something that's worth it.
now, and see, I've talked about this a lot, and I think a lot my mindset the way I have today. I think that you and I think in a lot of very similar directions. Granted, we stand in kind of different spots on certain things, but I think in general we think in a lot of different directions.
Correct.
Where hey man, we're grateful. We love this country. We love where we're at. We're grateful for all the opportunity we have. We've got 10 times here that other people have. We got 1,000 times here what other people have. But family, friends, that shit is not replaceable.
Right.
Like that's primary number one. You've got to take care of that. And I've said this. I've said this 1,000 times. There's three reasons I would ever go back. 3 reasons I would ever go back, and I would do it voluntarily.
And I'm sure I'd agree with those 3 reasons.
Well, and you went there pretty much for one,
Sacrifice.
very, very sacrifice.
Sacrifice, definitely.
My 3 reasons would be my children. Those are the only 3 reasons I'd ever go back. I'd kill somebody for my children. I'd openly do it, and hey, I would take the hit to protect my children. I would do that. I know you kind of went down the same lines of sacrifice for somebody else.
Correct.
I would easily do that, but the concept that I think a lot of people miss is it's not about being violent. It's not about being angry and mean. No. It's the capacity for violence, the potential that someone maintains, and I think a person who controls that, what's his name? Jordan Peterson. You ever listen to Jordan Peterson?
No.
Okay, they call him Father. He's a doctor, podcast, Canadian guy. Great. Just in general, just kind of a good guy to listen to. And he talks about. I believe this came from him. It talks about young men. Don't teach young men to be sweet and kind and gentle individuals. Teach them how to be monsters, and then teach them how to control it.
Right.
Because the world needs people that will defend it. The world needs people that are willing to sacrifice and capable of extreme brutal violence against another human being. You have to have that. We have to have that capability.
Well, yeah, they teach you that even in disciplines, whether it be mixed martial arts, boxing, this, that, and the other. There's a certain level they teach discipline, which is control, self-control. You have to master yourself.
Yes.
And I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Me, I was raised by a woman, so I have that added extra that's worked to my benefit. But yes, I believe that men should be men. My benefit is from that perspective of having a woman is I give consideration. You understand what I'm saying? There's some people that I'd encounter, like I could control the situation. I can control the situation, but I take the approach of looking a little bit deeper, like I've already won this. So I give you a pass.
Yeah.
That's the benefit that I've had of having a mother. My mother was in law enforcement for forever.
Yeah.
You know, so she has a pretty hard shell as well because she raised 2 boys.
Yeah.
You know, she came from a situation dealing with my father where there was physical abuse, emotional. You know, there were those factors were very apparent. I wasn't necessarily exposed to it because I was young and I was pretty much sheltered from that, but I have knowledge of it. So my mother also had that hard exterior, you know. So I was able to get that through her. But
I think I met her maybe twice.
Yeah, little lady.
Yeah, I think I met her
she's a
twice.
handful, man.
Yeah.
She's a handful. I give her a hard time, but
No, never.
you know,
I wouldn't assume that one bit.
Nah.
No.
But she, you know, her influence, man. She's one of the most influential people in my life, and I would say the greatest gift that was made apparent in my life is her level of understanding. She didn't agree with all the shit that I was doing. She had knowledge of certain things, but she always gave me enough room and respect to make my own decisions, whether they were right or wrong. Of course, she gave me all the tools to be able to be successful in life. But of course, there's a point in time where you have to be, you know, you have to be weaned, man. And anytime that I made a bad decision, I always had a pretty honest and open dialogue with my mother where I could go back and I can be like, hey, I fucked up. And she wouldn't view me from a judgmental standpoint. Like, she would embrace me and be like, hey, okay, well, look, now that you've made this decision, this is how you might want to consider. And again, listen to what I'm saying. This is how you might want to consider a project. There was still a level of, I respect the fact that you need to make a decision.
Yeah.
You need to make a decision. You need to be held accountable.
You know, there's that eternal mother's
Right.
like love no matter what. You can do no, I mean, ultimately your mom's not going to agree with everything you do, but she's going to love you forever and she's going to try to be there for you.
Especially now.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean,
man.
were you 41 or 42 now?
I'm 43.
43. My God.
I don't look it though.
Holy shit. Black don't crack.
Don't cry. But yes, 43, man.
Oh my God. No. So, you know, what's really funny, man, if you think about, so, you know, I'll tell you, back this up. The purpose of the show that I created here obviously started out for a therapeutic reason just for me. Like, I just enjoyed getting on, talking to people, fucking with people, talking shit, right? And then it got to a point where I know so many great, unique individuals that aren't, you know, we're not talking about movie stars and all this, that, and the other. I mean, people like you know, who are, you know, you're so unique in a certain way. But you know, I've also got a bunch of friends that are like business owners and Olympic athletes and stuff like that. I mean,
we all need that information.
You own 2 businesses, you know,
we all need that information.
But what was really weird is I started lining out, you know, and talking, and really what I wanted to do was talk to my friends, people that I enjoy being around, stuff like that. And so I've had you now, Emmanuel Moss, I've had Sir Patrick on, and I had a guy named Stephen Carter. There's 4 separate black men I've had on the show, right? 3 of the 4, Stephen Carter is the only one that's separate from y'all. 3 of the 4 were all from single parent households. 2 of them were raised by their grandmother, not by their mother. You were raised by your mother.
Correct. I
have not been able to have on the show yet. We'll call it a non-black individual who comes from that single parent household. Do you feel like, coming from that environment, that you had less opportunity? You personally,
not less opportunities, because I can definitely say that my mother took initiative.
Your mother's badass. I mean, I know all about her. So.
Yeah, she's pretty badass.
Yeah,
man. Coming from those circumstances, man.
Yeah,
pretty harsh. She did a great job, man. She's still doing a great job because somehow she thinks she can tell me what the fuck to do. But, like, I'm 43. Like, all right, I respect you.
Oh, man. Hey, I saw my mom this morning, and she did the same thing.
All the time. But yeah. But no, realistically, man, there were certain disadvantages, man, because I understand how a 2-parent household plays a part. And I always, you know, me and my wife and I have these conversations because she actually came from a 2-parent household. their roles as parents, as husband and wife, whatever the situation is, male and female, there are these two different, very different perspectives. You know what I mean? Very, very legitimate perspectives that play a role together in shaping an individual, preparing them if they've taken that responsibility. You know, not everybody views it like that, but for me, man, I can't say that I've had any disadvantages in terms of just having my mother there, because she did an exceptional job. But I understand that. I understand how there can be disadvantages.
Yeah.
I understand. I have a keen awareness of how, because I've seen it. I've been exposed to it on several occasions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, your wife, the child you call your daughter, is biologically not your daughter. But you refer to her as your daughter. You treat her every bit as equal as would be your biological kid. I mean,
I've accepted that responsibility.
For the last 5 years, every single time we talk, you talk about your daughter, your daughter, your daughter. Do you think it's a girl.
Correct.
Versus you guys don't have a boy.
No.
You have no children together. No biological children together. Do you think it plays a bigger role for a male or a female to come from either a 2-parent household or a single-parent household?
I don't know if there's any, again, I don't know if there's any greater role that my wife and I have taken on. I mean, it's a shared responsibility. When I came into the situation, I have the understanding that accepting her is accepting her. You understand? I accepted that responsibility. They come together. It's not that I can choose my wife and not choose my daughter, or vice versa. It's a package deal. And
I'm sure there's probably some days that you would you would just choose the daughter over your wife if you guys are fighting.
No. but I mean, there's a shared responsibility, man. Like I said, my wife has definitely been an adult far longer than I've had to be an adult. Coming from that situation, man, we're guaranteed to wake up to 3 meals, a bed, a roof over our heads, right? Yeah. Even the situation surrounding my daughter, man, not to go too deep into it, but it's my wife is a very, very, unique individual.
All right.
Y'all have to excuse me. She's a very unique individual. Very. Her character is unmatched, man. Like, she took on their responsibility, man, and didn't have to. So who the fuck am I to come into the situation and run contrary to that? You understand what I'm saying? She's great. Without having to dive too deep into the circumstances surrounding my daughter, man. My wife is amazing. Like, I didn't have any kids, and that was by design. I was very specific, just to tell you a little bit about me. I was very specific, man. Now, from a financial perspective, of course, I couldn't handle the circumstances, right? But I felt that I was very self-involved. I was going to school. And there's just a bunch of other shit. I'm a young man. Like, I want to party. I want to mess with females. And, I wanted to do all that shit. So having knowledge of what I wanted to do, I felt that would compromise me being a father. So I never put myself in a situation. Pull-out game is strong. My wife is going to kill me for this shit. But pull-out game is strong. But outside of that, of course, I use protection. Not to say that I didn't use fucking protection. But,
man.
But yes, man. But my wife's going to give me grief about shedding a tear as well. So
no, it's good, man.
But anyway, yeah, I knew that
if I could back up again real quick. If I back that up, just hold
back it up. Go for it.
That right there, that response that you gave is what makes you one of my favorite human beings.
Yeah, I'm real.
Because what people don't know about you, man,
Right.
It's like they're looking at you right now, and they you're a black man with
grill
these
comes out.
Yeah, grill comes out, but you're a black man with these dreads in your hair and all this stuff.
Locks.
Locks.
I'll tell you about that.
So you taught me something.
Right.
Man, look, I'm only half black.
You know why they were called dreadlocks? Real quick. No, finish your thought.
No,
Then
no, no,
we'll go
dreadlock.
to
I go down that in a second. But dreadlocks, what was it from?
Dreadlocks. Think dreadful. What is dreadful?
Black people.
It was a certain perception. Hey, you hit it.
Yeah,
You hit it.
right. Yeah, it's what people perceive.
Everything pertaining to us by an oppressor, of course.
Yeah,
If I were an oppressor, I'm not here to fucking esteem you.
right.
I'm here to keep you submissive. I'm
Right.
here to keep you under control.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna esteem you. I'm not gonna do any of that shit. So dread locks initially was pertaining to how we were perceived. People with these dreads. It was considered dreadful.
Dreadful.
Right. So we stripped away the dreadful and now we just call them locks.
See, okay. Well, here's the other thing too. I think if I think going along those same lines, but I'll get back to what I was saying here in a minute. But I think along those same lines, that's actually why as a society today we refer to you as black versus you're brown. Don't get me wrong. There's some people out there that are purple.
Right.
They're so fucking dark. But
There are certain things that were by design,
but
and I fully understand the history of it.
yeah, I think the reason that we refer to black people today as black is because of the fear. What do people fear most?
The dark.
The dark.
Correct.
Batman.
It's all by design, man. It's all by design. But
Yeah.
people wouldn't know that unless you dig a little bit deeper. And sometimes people just don't want to fucking do it. I mean, they have other things to be concerned about, and I get it.
Yeah.
But for those of us who are a little bit more inquisitive and want to understand, like my father was in arm's reach, but he wasn't a factor. You know, and that's not to down him. You know, he's a Purple Heart Bronze Star, Vietnam veteran, this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? And but I still hold him accountable.
Sure.
Correct?
Sure.
But I don't penalize him for his mistakes. I don't have time for that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have a family of my own. I have other concerns, other responsibilities than to be sitting here harping on some shit that took place, 30-something, 40-something years ago. I don't have time for that shit.
Yeah.
I've dealt with it. And so, like I said, people, sometimes people just prefer to be in their cocoon, man.
Yeah.
And I understand. I understand why you want to be there. There's a level of comfort there. And
People gravitate to what they know, what makes them feel good.
right.
Yeah.
I think you and I are more inquisitive, and that benefits us, and it benefits others in terms of our perspective, what we lend to other people.
I mean, huge part of this is learning about other people.
Dialogue, man. There is no understanding without communication. Period. In terms of individuals.
Yeah.
We have to communicate. We could sit here and be silent and we wouldn't know shit.
I think, but what's in my mind too, what's really weird is I think that people having conversations, really not even maybe affecting other people or having that conversation with somebody else, somehow affects the world. Talk about the flap of the butterfly wing kind of thing. So
Ripple effect.
yeah. So like for example, the other day, Fred and I, we did a live on New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
We were on there for 3 hours doing a live. I don't know if you tuned in, not one, but you probably out partying. You were DJing.
Yeah, I
were
get
you
paid
DJing?
to party. I get
Yeah.
paid to facilitate good times.
You
Which in all actuality is the opportunity to network.
Yeah.
So don't get it twisted.
But you were,
people.
but I bet, but we were probably we were smoking a hookah.
New
I'm
Year's
sure
Eve?
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve, I was at Bloom
Okay.
on Fannin. New
Okay.
Year's Day, I was sitting my ass at home.
Yeah,
We
no.
had people, hey, come on home.
No, this was New Year's Eve.
Right.
We were on Fred's. He for some reason I got to get him to fucking okay. I say patio because he was like he would come on air and he's like, yeah, we're just sitting up here on my deck, and I'm like, don't enunciate that like he's like yeah deck, yeah. Well, I said, well, you know what, on the fucking air on a recording it sounds like you just said we're sitting on your dick. I was like, so I really need you to fucking say that differently, please. So I say patio. So we were sitting up on his patio. We were smoking a hookah. And we started off right away, talking about skating. Fred is one of the greatest skaters of all time. You know about the shit. You and I have talked about the stuff I've done. I have world championships, all that stuff. But he's literally one of the greatest world champions of all time.
Holy shit.
And we're sitting there talking about having this conversation. And then within 5 minutes, we get off on this conversation of, again, one of the other greatest athletes of all time to actually I don't think ever actually win a medal at the world level in speed skating is a guy named Casey Boudier. Now, Casey started out doing inline skating and is one, I think he is the first American athlete that transitioned from inline speed skating to ice speed skating. And became very celebrated on long track ice. I believe won some Olympic medals at on ice, and never won anything like at the world level on inline, and went over to ice and won the Olympics. That's pretty fucking amazing, right? But very specifically, we were talking about a competition that we were both very young at, and we watched Casey dominate the field in his probably late 20s, early 30s. He's 50 now. This was back in the 90s, so he was in his 20s, 30s back then. And we watched him dominate the field in a marathon here in Houston at Memorial Park. We happened to talk about this. Now, I put that video out there. It's had several hundred views, maybe 1,000 by now, on Facebook. Casey has not seen the video. We talked about him for like 30 minutes. Fred and I are sitting on his patio yesterday.
Not his dick.
Not his deck.
His dick. Holy shit.
Yeah, it sounds because he's got
Sounds very sexual.
It does, absolutely. But he's got a bit of a
Right.
southern kind of accent. So when he says it, it definitely sounds like he said we're sitting on his dick, and I'm like,
Yeah,
don't
it's
fucking say it. Don't fucking
Every time
say
he
that.
says it,
Oh no! Apparently on YouTube, the only thing I'm not allowed to do is refer to somebody directly as a cunt. I can say cunt. I know that's one of your favorite words in the world. That is literally, you and I have had this conversation. That's literally one of your favorite words in the world.
it's so disrespectful.
It is.
Expletives drive home a fucking point.
They
man,
do,
I'm
but they're
telling
so
you.
good. They're so good.
I'm telling
But
you.
I know for a fact that's
Wow.
one of your favorite words. But apparently on YouTube, that's one of the words I'm not allowed to like direct at somebody. So anyway, we're having this
Wow.
conversation. We're sitting on his patio yesterday, and we're having this, and all of a sudden, Casey Boudier, who lives somewhere in the Midwest.
Hops in on a live.
Well, no, we're not doing live yesterday. He makes a post on Facebook. Okay, makes a post on Facebook, and all he's doing is referencing Bonnie Blair, one of the most celebrated female speed skaters in history. She's an American athlete, and all he's doing, he posts a picture because Bonnie Blair happens to be in it. It's from the awards podium of the race that Fred and I were talking about the other day. He wasn't even referencing the race. He wasn't referencing his win or his domination of the field or anything else. He was talking about Bonnie Blair. But he just so happens to use the same picture that he hadn't watched the video.
Right.
He hadn't watched the video.
Coincidental?
I think that it's weird. It's weird to think about that. The butterfly effect. We talked about this. We've had the conversations about the ripple effect, the cause and effect of things. It's almost like there was a vibration that was put out there that instigated him to put up this picture, all from a conversation that Fred and I had on. And what's odd about it is that conversation that him and I had started from a conversation that Fred, me, and two other people had in this very game room outside this doors right here. We had this like 2 weeks ago, and it started with, we were talking about Casey, and Fred and I kind of continued it on. And so that led me, as I was thinking about that, actually the irony of that, and then you coming on here today, the disconnected events that led you to where you were in life, how we met, to all of that eventually put us in the same place at the same time, that put us, then you left. I don't know if you remember this. You left, and you walked out the day after my birthday. Was it April 8th, 2015?
2014.
14, okay.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
April 8th.
April 8th.
That was my brother's anniversary, day before his birthday. I was released.
Yeah, so his birthday's the 9th.
The 9th.
My birthday's the 7th.
Holy shit.
We had my birthday lunch
Right.
that night
spread.
because you were leaving. You knew
Right.
you were gone. So you and I had that, and so that was the last meal you and I had together. Was 2014, April 6th, 2014, because you left the following day.
Right, and they sent me off to the walls. You know, you do your little transitions through the system, but yeah.
By the way, did they walk you by the death chamber and talk about it as you guys were walking out?
If they did, I didn't want to hear that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I understand the history of the walls unit, but you know, I was I was just trying to soak it all in. I don't know that I've ever had this moment like, I've made it back. I don't know that because it was an expectation for me prior to actually, it was so far thought out. Like,
For you, as a foregone conclusion, you were going to go home.
I knew I was going home.
Yeah.
So I was extremely intentional beforehand, during, and afterwards. I was extremely intentional. I knew what it took to get me home in a timely fashion, so I conducted myself in a certain manner.
Yeah.
I just knew what it took, man. So I don't know. I mean, I'm extremely appreciative of actually being home, my support system, the time while I was there. In hindsight, I recognize that it's like the most impactful thing that I've ever experienced. I mean, it still has its benefits, to this day.
You think it made you a better person?
Oh, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
But whether or not, that depends on the individual, man.
Did it make you
It's
personally,
choices.
do you find anything that you went through made you a worse person? Is there anything that you can look at and say that this...
Hell no.
Nah, everything was better.
Everything was better through the experience. But again, I say the individuals...
But you controlled it. You took control of it. Like, you learned from
the
it.
jump.
Yeah.
I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to do going into the situation.
What was this?
Rapping was a way for me to...
The whole time, you just hear Peacemaker over there.
Rapping was a way for me to get it out.
Yeah.
I was able to channel whether, we have these good and bad, what's good and bad in terms of your emotions. All that shit serves a purpose, man.
Yeah.
Everything serves a purpose in my little world.
How many songs did you write when you were there?
Thousands.
Literally. Thousands. I remember going through your notebook one time.
Thousands.
It was fucking unbelievable.
I still have a writ of habeas corpus that I was denied my appeal.
Really?
I still have all of that shit.
Well, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, actually, because I wrote like 5 books while I was there.
Oh wow!
But they were journals of my life, and what I did was I literally chronicled every day.
Different form,
yeah,
same intention.
Yeah, yours was more of a vocalization of that. Mine was more internalization of it, just trying to bring it out. But yeah, I wrote like 5 books.
Holy shit!
And they're gone. Can't fucking find them. Very upset about that. I mean, it's literally somewhere in the neighborhood of about 8,000 pages.
Oh, wow.
That I wrote.
Well, yeah, wow.
And we're talking about like notebook paper.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, shit. That's all we had. I mean,
Well, I mean, I was, you were in the same boat I was. We both had money on our books. We had commissary all the time.
Never went without.
You worked in commissary, so you got to check in on everybody's accounts.
Didn't have to do the bullshit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, I was intentional. I didn't give a damn what I was confronted with the circumstances or individuals. I knew what it took for me to get back to what I love.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to allow anyone to stand in the way of that. Not even myself.
Do you know anybody? Do you know anybody that you met there that came home before or after you and has gone back?
I can't call names, but during my time of actually being there, I've seen maybe a handful of individuals get out, come back, get out, and come back.
While you were still there.
While I was still there.
Because you did 12 and a half years in the building.
About 12 and a half in the building. I did 14 years and 30 days exactly.
On the nose.
To the 13 years and 14 years and 30 days exactly. Which, everyone who encounters me for whatever reason, I'm like, what the fuck? Because I'm pretty much an open book.
Yeah.
I don't shy away from my experiences, man, because I feel, it's a sacrificial lamb type of thing. And again, not to justify my decision to commit a criminal act. But, sometimes there are some of us in life that are built a certain way.
Yeah.
And so my experience there, I was aware, again, speaking to the spirituality, I've always had a very profound understanding that there's something greater than me working in my life. You know what I mean? I've always had that understanding, man. So my time spent there was an opportunity for me to communicate because, again, I was very self-involved, man. So that experience there taught me a lot about myself, what I wanted to do when I got home, which I'm a shapeshifter. I'm a chameleon, so to speak, because I don't get so locked into one thing. Like I have these intentions, I have these ideas, but I always leave room for if something were to happen, I don't crumble.
Yeah.
I don't crumble under the weight of disappointment. You know what I mean? I give myself enough room to be able to adapt and move and transition into something else. And so my experience again was intentional there. I knew what I had to do. I knew my obligation as a result of the decision that I made. You know, the consequence was I knew with a 25-year sentence that I have to do 12 and a half to become eligible. Not that I'm coming home, but I need to become eligible. And in order to greater my chances of actually coming home, I need to stay the fuck out the way.
Yeah.
I need to be me. You know, I retained who I am, but even then, no one ever heard me curse. I didn't use profanity in 14 years.
You didn't.
No one ever heard me curse.
You didn't.
And that was something I wanted to do. And that was me. That was a very simple challenge for me.
Yeah.
I challenged myself. Let's see if I can do this in this environment. Because if I can do this one thing, I can do any fucking thing that I want when I get out.
Well, it's really funny because, I mean, everybody talks to me today. They know my favorite word is fuck. Like, it's coming out. It's going to be there. And it can be, it's every version of every word out there. It's an add-on, and it makes it just so much better. Right. But I actually followed your lead while I was there. And your influence to me was that the whole time I was there, well, more so than anything, what I found was, and I'll tell you this, once I got to the trustee camp, for example, I was out there running the track, right? Biggie, remember Biggie?
Yeah.
Biggie was out there, right? He was out there with another guy. They're walking around.
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez, that's right. But I was jogging around them. And as a courtesy, I just said, hey, boys, on your right, letting them know I was coming by. I didn't want them to think someone's just running up on them, stuff like that. I gave him a courtesy, hey, boys, on your right. And he came to me afterwards. And, you know, we worked together, you know, they're in the maintenance department. And he said to me, he says, hey, just so you know, you referring to us as boys was ultimately offensive. And of course we had the conversation. Everybody knew there that Jason Husk was not the person.
It wasn't ill intent, but I get it.
Exactly.
Right.
And actually, it was kind of one of those moments that after having that conversation with him and then having a conversation with you is to say, you know what? There is so much here that I think that small minds can misinterpret completely. Swearing is one of those. And so I literally passed that time. This was probably, I made it out to the trustee camp in April of 2013. I would say this is probably somewhere around July, June, July of 2013. I made this decision, and I didn't say one fucking swear word the whole time. But I was like, I remember this as the day is long. Okay. When I was 5 years old, we moved from Phoenix. Okay. We had two big Ryder trucks. It was like my dad, me, and my grandpa in one of them. It was my mom, my brother, and my sister in the other one. My dad's driving one, my mom's driving the other one. And I talked to my dad, and I said, Dad, can I cuss? I'm 5. And we're moving from Phoenix to Houston. And he says, well, son, what do you, like, you want to cuss? Like, what do you want to say? And I look over at my grandpa. To me, my grandpa was kind of like Jesus to me. He was kind of like, walk on water, that kind of thing. And I said, Dad, I really want to say the word fuck. And he says, I tell you what, son. As long as you're in this vehicle, as long as you're around me, your dad, or your grandfather, you can say whatever you want. Just don't ever do it around your mom. Don't ever tell your mom I said you could do this.
You gotta love fathers and grandfathers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I remember sitting there. I remember sitting there in the truck like this the whole time. I'm like, fuck. Like I'm 5. I'm just like, I think it's the coolest thing. And so I remembered that. That. So coming home, August 16th, 2016 for me, my dad picked me up. And when I was young, when I was a kid, even prior to that, I couldn't do this. My dad and I talked about this when I was well, not prior to that, but when I was like, say 7, 8 years old, I would ride in the truck with my dad, and I would stand behind my dad. He had single cab, well, like an extended cab, like Silverado, and I'd stand on the back seat, and I'd stand right behind him, and I'd throw my arms over the seat, and he'd lean against my arms, and we would talk, and we would have conversations, and I'm just leaning, he's leaning against my arms, and that was his favorite thing to do, is have his son in the truck like that. I remember these conversations. Well, I remember when my father picked me up. He was the only one that was there to pick me up, and which was the perfect one to pick me up. And we had that conversation. I said, Dad, well, I can't stand behind you. He picked me up in my F-350. I said, well, I can't stand behind you to put my arms behind you. But I said, can I cuss? He's like, well, what do you want to say? I said, well, I want to say fuck, Dad. And again, I'm 30. Wow. I'm 35 years old.
That's a level of respect.
Yeah, and he just giggled. He says, "All right." He says, "We know we're going to see your mom." He says, "So he's like, man, get it all out now."
Don't say it in front of your mom.
But it was funny because that whole time while I was there, I didn't do it.
Right.
And I remember, and that had a lot of part to do with the conversation I had with Biggie, but with a lot to do with you, that the small minds, that it was a conscious decision not to do it. Almost as a test to yourself.
Definitely a test to myself.
Yeah, but to expand it beyond further than that, to not equalize yourself with everybody else there. That's right.
Oh, very calculated.
Yeah.
And people wouldn't know that. They would look at, oh, he just don't cuss, he's lame. No, there's intention behind it. And also for me was, I know what I'm capable of when I'm disrespected. And like I said, my first thought isn't to take it to something that's violent or physical, but I know what I'm capable of. So my thing is, in order to be respected, you have to present yourself in a respectful manner, right? And so going into that environment is very, very easily to get disrespected or to become disrespectful. Yeah. And again, I didn't want to conform to the environment.
Yeah. And
so that was one thing, that not using profanity in that environment was a challenge to myself, but it was also calculated. But also, I don't do certain things. Like even today, I don't do the bitch in the whole game. I don't do the grab ass. And I tell my wife this all the time. I was like, I didn't play those games. I said, it's not because I necessarily had to be a badass. I said, but it was because what I expected from others is what I was willing to give to them. And it boils down to something very simple. Just respect.
Yeah.
Very simple. So, again, yeah, I didn't use it in there, man. I used my time very wisely, man, because I knew I had something to go home to.
Yeah.
And even had I not had something to go home to, I would still conduct myself in that manner because I'd made a decision prior to going in there.
Yeah.
That if I had to go there, I was going to come out a better person.
Yeah.
Everything's intentional. Everything's calculated. Definitely.
Well, look, I want to pause this for something that I never do while I'm on these shows. I actually need to go pee.
Okay.
Do you need to go?
Yes.
Okay, good. We can let this shit run. I can cut it out later.
Our bladders are sealed.
That, fuck yeah. Oh, it's under your drink right there.
I know, but where in the fuck am I supposed to put this one?
Oh, that one's it's metal. Ain't gonna get water on anything. You good?
You're like me and grab a fucking coaster.
Yeah.
Take your shoes off.
No.
I didn't take my shoes off.
No, man. No.
Nice socks.
No shoes off in here, man. I walk around my house.
Gets on me. I'm like, you better go sit your ass down.
No, man. I wear
the fucking mortgage here. You better go sit down.
My shoes and socks. I wear my shoes out everywhere, but
yeah.
But anyway, so look, man. Going back to
we're recording.
Oh yeah, I never stopped.
Oh,
but I'll
shit.
cut a bunch of that. I'll cut a bunch of that out. Don't worry. Yeah.
All this Jose and Pedro.
God damn it.
Jose and Jose B going down.
I am not a racist.
Well, did you know that black people cannot be racist?
Bullshit.
Oh, you gonna put an end to that fucking rumor right now?
I saw someone say black people can't be racist
because racism
Mooney.
is yes.
Is it Mooney?
Yes, the comedian. Yes,
Mooney. I saw that shit.
Black people cannot be racist by design because
by
racism.
Definition.
Yeah, is because racism is about power and oppression. And if you don't have the power, you don't therefore have the capacity to be racist.
I do have the power to oppress some people.
Fuck yeah.
I do have that power. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. And depending on the circumstance, depending on what you present, I'll get your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I can be a racist. Again, it depends on the circumstance.
Crack is a hell of a drug.
Hell of a. But mushrooms are good.
Not cracker. I did not say cracker. I've actually never heard, one thing I will say about you is I've never actually heard come out of your mouth a negative word really towards not, you can be angry at somebody and be pissed off at an individual. I have never in my life, in the 10 years we've known each other, I've never heard come out of your mouth a pejorative, a direct racial slur towards anybody of any race, any culture, any creed whatsoever.
I fuck around. Like, I like a lot of, people and audiences are my little tools of entertainment. So I do a lot of shock value stuff. But people who know me.
Yeah.
Again, I can joke around and say something with a straight face. And that's more to my advantage because I'm trying to gauge people. How you respond to it tells me a lot about you. Because people are more susceptible to not be forthcoming initially when they first meet someone, right? So in order for a way for me to draw it out of you is to say something that I might think or not think is contrary to what you believe. Right. And how you respond would tell me a lot about you. So I do that shit. Damn it, I'm giving up my tricks.
No, look, I do the same.
I read a lot of behavioral science books.
I do the same. I do the same exact thing, and it's literally to see their response to it. Like literally, you could be you could be talking to a woman. I will tell you, like I say this. I love women. I love being respectful of women. I was largely raised by my mother, traveling the world by a woman. So. But I will joke around very heavily with women, and even to make the comment something so far off as talking about something like anal sex, going to one of the most scariest places that a woman talks about, and just to see their fucking reaction to it.
Hey, handsome, more attractive or more appealing guys, we can get away with a lot more than ugly fucks. So we have the luxury of being able to do dumb shit and get away with it without getting slapped and stuff like that, right? So, I mean, I understand fully. But for me, in terms of being disrespectful, I know I've seen worst case scenarios come from disrespect. So I know better than to do it. And I know that if I do it, I got to be prepared for whatever comes with it.
Yeah.
And I just prefer to not have to deal with that. And it also goes back to the point that what I'm willing to give is what I expect, right? And if I've given you a level of respect and you show me that you can't match that, then I just distance myself.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything to you. I just distance myself. And, I always tell people, I like to deal with people who have something to lose. Because when you have something to lose, you're less susceptible to do some dumb shit. Because if I ride for you, I did 14 years because I got involved with somebody making a decision, making a life decision that they felt was best for them. I don't even want to say it's the wrong decision, but making a decision that they felt was best for them in that moment, right? So if I'm willing to do 14 years for that, I'm not going to allow you understand what I'm saying? I'm not going to let you trick me out of my position, so to speak.
Right.
So, but it's not who I am. I was raised, we lived in apartments. Apartment complexes has a certain level of diversity.
Yeah.
There weren't shithole apartments, but there was diversity. You understand what I'm saying?
Puts a lot of people together from a lot of different places. Yeah.
Right. And we, as our circumstances got better, we were moving up. So I got exposed to a lot of different people. I was in a lot of different schools, and my mama didn't raise me like that. And I'm a nerd to a certain degree, so I think that I can learn from anyone. I don't give a fuck where you stand. Yeah. If we have a conversation, I'd like to be able to walk away with something, and I'm intentional in doing that. I want to get something from it. And so it's just a lot of things with me are intentional, man, whether people realize it or not. You got me fucking spilling the beans. Fuck.
You give it all
yes,
away.
I'm very intentional and very calculated, man.
Well, look, you rode up. I know you've ridden bikes for a long time. You showed up on your Harley. This is not the same one you had last year. It's a new one.
Yes.
You had a black one last year.
Correct.
Now this one's blue, like a bluish color.
Correct.
When'd you get this one?
I got this one, a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Well, what happened is the other bike, I had fully modded it out. I laid it down twice. But the rides, the guys, I'm not in the group, but the guys that I ride with, they're riding bigger bikes. They were more suitable for longer rides. My bike I can keep up with them, but I was fucking, the wind. So I was like, you know what? It's time to graduate. And so luckily my wife allowed me to get this bike, right? The boss. And I say that because the first accident that I say this because the first accident that I had on a motorcycle, the first time that I didn't wear a helmet is the first time that I had an accident, right? And so the situation was this. This is why I whether she knows it or not, I take into consideration her approval. Because at that time, I'm still on parole, right? I'm still on parole. But
when you done, by the way?
25. Oh. 25. But I mean, it's a cakewalk for me.
Yeah.
Considering the severity of my charges, hey, it's a cakewalk, man. But for her, this was an epiphany for me. The accident that I had, right? My wife likes to give me a kiss. At this particular time, she wanted to give me a kiss before I left on the bike. That was a way of checking to make sure I had my helmet on, right? Well, this time she was visiting a mother out in Dayton, right? And so I knew it. I was going right around the corner. I have a high school classmate of mine that lives at this particular time. He lived about 10, 15 minutes, like right around the corner, man. And so I was like, fuck it, man. All right, babe, I'm going over to such and such house, right? I'm being slick. I get over there, I have a few drinks. I'm good. We're eating. Well, I get out there, man. I'm being a dumbass. Now, mind you, I felt that I was sober by this time, but I had been drinking. Fucking get out, do a straight line, goes into a wobble. I get off the bike, right? No helmet. I'm cover my, I have my road rash on my arms. Long story short, man, my wife arrives when I had the accident, after I finished tumbling, my bike was sliding out. There was 2 lanes this way, 2 lanes this way. It's Will Clayton.
Okay.
Will Clayton. There was a police officer and an EMS coming by at the same time. Didn't have to call. They circled around, right? I'm on parole. I'd been drinking earlier. My wife arrives at the scene. She's going off. Well, I'm not thinking how she's thinking, that I'm on parole and I'd been drinking. Luckily, there wasn't another vehicle involved, or they would have tapped me.
Yeah.
I would have went straight from the hospital bed, part of the county jail.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking on that level. So after everything went by, my wife voiced her concerns. You know what I mean? And I respect her for having a level of respect for me, even though I made a stupid ass decision. She was like, look, man, you have responsibilities. You have people who are out here depending on you. You need to smarten up. Or if you're going to do it, you need to do it in a manner that doesn't jeopardize all of this shit that you have going on for you, man. And I respect her. Like, on a whole, we've had a lot of conversations, you know what I mean? Again, I can be headstrong. Not ignorant. Ignorant mean that I don't ignore. Right. I hear you, but I might not apply it until a little bit later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, I'll do it later. But that conversation, man, put things in perspective for me. So my style of riding, even getting another motorcycle, things like that, I take into account now that I have certain responsibilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, obviously, yeah, it's a bigger bike. You got the bags on it and everything.
Yeah,
I saw you had the full helmet on. You ever ride without?
That's not a full frontal. I have a full frontal.
Well, you skull cap. You have the skull cap on today. Mm-hmm. All right, but do you ever wear the full helmet
on longer trips?
Yeah, because I've seen your pictures where you put the bigger ones on.
Yes, I have a full frontal and have a modular. A modular is where it has the radio and stuff where I can just hit a button and I raise up the front.
Yeah, but right now you're
longer trips. Yeah, longer trips I wear it. But again, I've changed my style of riding, man. Like, I'm cruising. I do my ride. Even when I ride in a group, I know where we're going. Hey, I have navigation. Hey, I'll see you when I see you. You know what I mean?
If they want to take off and go fast and do all that shit, go.
Yeah, I mean, we're all moving, but yeah, I don't invest in the bullshit. Like, I ride my ride.
Yeah.
Man. And so
I laid a bike down one time and that shit hurt. But yes, I didn't really lay it down. I didn't lay it down. I got hit from behind by another motorcycle.
Oh wow.
and it launched me. I pulled up at a stoplight, and their front tire was bald, and so they didn't want to use their front brakes, so they only hit their back brakes, and they just fucking slid right into me. When they hit, I saw them coming in the mirror, and I literally stood up on the pegs, and right as I stood up, they hit me. And it launched me. It threw him about 30 feet directly into an intersection. I was down in South Florida. I mean, I fucking just rolling right into an intersection.
Yeah, man.
And it sucks, man.
Yeah.
But make it even worse, no helmet, had a ball cap on, had shorts on with my Chucks, and no T-shirt. My T-shirt was in my fucking belt because I mean, South Florida, it's 100 degrees.
Yeah.
So so I fucking was thrown into the intersection with just a pair of shorts on, basically.
Yeah.
That's not comfortable at all.
Houston is. I like to say that it's not a motorcycle friendly, city.
Yeah. The highways are hard
construction,
for it.
Yeah, and being in logistics, man. When I was in logistics, they tax us, man, to have your own trucking authority in terms of insurance, DOT, all that shit, the regulations. But they don't actually enforce it very well. You can ride on certain sides of town, man, and there's fucking rubber alligators and shit everywhere, debris everywhere. I've actually, on that bike, I got hit by a piece of pipe, and I saw it in slow motion. It didn't hit me. It actually hit my engine guard.
Ooh, okay.
That son of a bitch came off that truck, man, and I'm doing every bit of 85 cruising. You know what I mean? That's cruising.
Yeah.
And that son of a bitch was just ding, ding, dinging, and it hit. I actually have a bruise on my shin, man, and where it hit my engine guard, and my highway peg slammed into my shin. Now, had that not been there, I probably would have a fucking crutch right now, like for the rest of my life with a limp. But Houston is not what's up, but I say the benefit that I have is from dealing in logistics.
Yeah.
Is that I have my certain routes that I take. I'm very familiar with those things. And, the giddy people that I actually meet, I'm going to get a motorcycle. I'm going to do that. I say, hey, man, take the fucking class. And from that point, baby steps before you get on the fucking highway, man. Take your time. I've seen worst case scenarios, but
were you ever into
lifestyle?
Were you into bikes before you went to prison?
Oh, we've always had the ATVs, dirt bikes, and shit like that as kids.
Were you a rough rider?
Go-karts. Yeah, I was always breaking something.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
No, I meant was it DMX, the Rough Riders, all that?
No,
shit you see in the videos.
I could do the 12 o'clock shit, but that's not my thing.
But you were more of a country boy because you grew up on the
both.
Yeah.
I started out in this. Baytown is it's not like Anahuac though. Chambers County and Baytown, as conservative, and Baytown is still the city in comparison to my more formative years were in Anahuac, which is Chambers County.
Yeah. You were probably a rarity out there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because I had, my brother, I had certain influences where I was still connected to the city.
Right.
My mother ended up getting in a relationship with a country boy. But it was benefits to actually being there. So I had the best of both worlds, but I tend to gravitate towards the city, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I like, opportunities, obviously opportunities, but I had fun in the country, man. It was a great time. I'm glad that I had both environments to shape my perspective, to have had the opportunity to live in both environments, but I definitely gravitate towards the city, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But so were you a car guy at all? Camaros and Novas and shit
I could
like that,
appreciate
Impalas.
those, but I couldn't afford those.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that. I could appreciate it, but I'm not real materialistic. Even as a kid, I had a car at a very young age. I had a car before I got my license. But shit, man, I'm even now, I'm not very materialistic because I've been without. I've been in an experience where I've fucking been without.
Yeah.
And I was very appreciative towards my mother because I saw her efforts. I saw the means in which she was able to contribute to our household and provide for us. Like, she worked her ass off. She went to college and worked at the same time. My mother worked in refineries while she was going to school, and she became, got into law enforcement and stuff like that.
Even at that time, that's a
So
rarity.
I had a different perspective, man.
Yeah.
Everything I can always say, I had a different perspective that was afforded to me, and it still benefits me to this day. But I can definitely appreciate the finer things in life, but I don't have to have them because I've been without. Being in there, beforehand, my brother was a millionaire, right? He's 5 years older than me. So back in the early 90s, I graduated in 96. My brother was a fucking millionaire. And I was reaping the benefits of that. As a young kid, my responsibility to go to college. I went to college, got my degree in 2 years. And the rest of it was fucking partying. I knew by 1 o'clock I had to go to school, go to college, and knock out my books. And I mainly did that because I understood that my education was on someone else's dime. So I had a certain level, I had responsibilities to that individual. I've always been like that. I've always been wired a certain way.
Made me think about this is because you went to, was DeVry?
Fucking ITT.
ITT Tech.
For-profit bastard.
Yeah, there you go. Is that even still around, man?
I don't know, because I've seen like through my social media where they've had these lawsuits, right, for being for-profit. Now, my degree is legitimate. I have a degree in electronics engineering technology.
Yeah.
I did my 2 years. I have my associate's degree, right? But 9 months after that, I robbed a fucking bank. A year after that, I'll fucking go to the penitentiary, right?
Yeah. Year to the day, right? Year to the day. Was it a year to the day that from the day you robbed the bank that you actually got?
Yeah, it was. You have a fucking great memory.
Year to the day, man.
God damn it, you were listening. Well, thank you. Thank you for consideration. But yes,
yeah, honestly,
interesting.
That's one, I think, for me, honestly, because obviously I talk a lot. I think that's probably one of the biggest compliments anybody can give me. Emmanuel actually mentioned
you
that
listen,
the
though.
other day.
You're smart.
I like to listen. Like,
You
I
know, it's
learn.
a level of intelligence. It's indicative of something.
Well,
You're intelligent.
For me, I'm like you said, I'm an inquisitive person. You're an inquisitive person. You like to learn and hear, and the only way you're going to do that is by picking up what the other people are saying.
My wife
but
says I suck at it, but
don't most men.
she sucks in certain regards too. So tip for tat.
So
But
maybe
yeah.
you want me to edit out all that other
Nah,
stuff?
go
No,
for
we're
it.
gonna leave that whole
She
section
can't
in there.
whoop me.
That's right.
She can't whoop me.
You can't beat me up.
That's what I tell her. You can't beat me up. Shit. What you gonna do? You're at a loss.
Yeah. All right,
But
you're
no.
gonna pay for this when you get home.
Oh, it's all good, man. She loves me.
I'm gonna
She's
cut
always
this section
loved
out and then just message this to her
it's
right
good,
there,
man.
right there on Instagram.
me. She'll laugh and giggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, man. Yeah, year to the day that you robbed the bank, you were out on bond,
Right.
and
Did a year on bond.
and then
Right.
the year to the day you got sent away.
Yes. Got sent away, man. And I was still pretty optimistic, you know, going through the appeal process and stuff like that.
Do you think you got treated fairly at your trial and conviction? Considering, I mean, 10,000-foot view, man. You're 20 years past it right now, man. You got 3 years left on parole.
fairly, no, because I'm not bitter. Like, I accepted it before I did it.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that. But
Yeah.
in reality, there were other determining factors. Those factors lied outside of me, right? Because of my relationship with certain individuals. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So because they had me, couldn't get them, I got penalized on their behalf. But, you know, I guess in hindsight, that's just something that I accepted from being in close proximity to those individuals,
Yeah.
right? But here's the thing. They did a PSI, which for those of you that don't know, that's a pre-sentence investigation, which the judge kind of looks into your situation before sentencing your ass to determine to what degree, right? Okay, so I robbed a bank. Didn't go federal. I was actually charged with attempt to commit capital murder, police officer, aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon.
'Cause
right?
if
I got a gunfight.
If I'm not mistaken, it was a Bank of America, correct? B of
Yes.
A? Was it
God
B of A?
damn it.
Was it B of A?
And
if-
I've passed by that thing.
yeah, how was I
It's
asked
a
you?
Chase now.
Yes, it's a different bank right now.
Right. Funny story. Hold on.
Yeah.
It's a Bank of America. The first account that I tried to establish, or that I did establish when I got home, was the fucking Bank of America. Hold on. That ain't shit.
Yeah.
Look at my mother.
Oh no.
My mother, because I had to get a new license, and even once I got it, I had to take the driver's test, all that shit over again.
Yeah.
You know, I had a license prior to going in, yada yada yada. But I had to take all that shit, so I had to depend on someone, right? And so the first account, Baytown, Texas, Garth Road, man, right across from the main hospital, San Jacinto Hospital, right?
Okay.
There was a Bank of America. I robbed them, right? And my mother drove me to this bank, man. And before I got out the car, this is where I get my twisted sense of humor from. She went, You ain't got a gun on you, huh?
Uh,
Like, you asshole. I was like, you asshole. She was like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Like,
You got...
what? And this is someone who comes from 30 plus years in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Right? And then she was like, you ain't got your gun on you, huh? I was like, no, I don't want to fucking have a gun on me. Thank you. But
Well,
anyway, thanks, Mom.
The other part of that is, if I'm not mistaken, this is where I may be wrong. Whenever I talk to anybody about you and I tell them your story, if I'm not mistaken, did you get 1 year for pretty much for every bullet you fired?
No, but if I did, I was unaware of it. But I can definitely see how that played a part. I was firing.
Do you know how many bullets you fired when it was all said and done?
No, shit, no. In that situation where you're being shot at and I wasn't aiming. And again, I'm not trying to justify wrong. I don't want to have that misconception. I'm not trying to justify fucking wrong or to say that robbing a fucking bank is okay or any of that shit. Let's dispel all of that, right? But survival, fight or flight, right? Yeah. It's an instinct. Very heightened instinct for me because of certain situations that I've been in my life, self-imposed and those that weren't. But it was a means for me to get away. I needed to get away. I wasn't trying to inflict harm, so to speak. That's a misconception. I wasn't trying to inflict harm. I was trying to get away, more of a distraction, right? And I did get away. But the 25 years... For both charges, there was a sentencing range of 5 to 99, right? I had 3 lawyers throughout my entire experience. My first lawyer, my defense attorney, Sam Adamo. My family paid a lot of fucking money. Judicial system, man, it's a lot of money play if you the haves and the have-nots.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that shit has. I saw it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I pled guilty to one of the charges. In exchange for my guilty plea, the other charges dropped. It's still in my file. I don't give a damn. Like, if a cop pulls me over, it's going to see both.
Yeah.
It's a perpetual state of being guilty.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So, hey, if you're squeaky clean, stay that way. Don't get any fucking felonies. It'll affect you for the rest of your life. But and some of you fucks can't operate, man. Like,
oh my God.
If you're an extremely dependent person, like, stay the fuck away from crime, man. Like, really. Stay the fuck away from it, period. But stay squeaky clean, man. But for me, the situation is this. Like, really, because some of these motherfuckers, like, do some of the most outrageous shit, and then when they have a consequence to be suffered, like, oh, fuck, they get to pointing the finger. That's the biggest problem that I've seen from individuals in that institution.
Absolutely.
Is an absence of fucking acceptance.
Yeah.
I don't think that everyone's guilty, right? I understand. There's some innocent people incarcerated.
Absolutely.
But you motherfuckers, if you had a gun in your hand or drugs or whatever the fuck you were doing, hey man, there's consequences for the dumb shit.
Yeah.
Like, period. Let's not get that confused. Hold yourself accountable. Here's my thing. I went in, I got out, right? They did a PSI.
You were in for like 24 hours or something like that. Not even that. When you got bailed out.
Oh yeah, I was in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah, my family was on top of it. I literally, my family, I want to say me, because I wasn't a rich motherfucker, man. But my family shit out about almost 70 grand for my first lawyer. Almost 70 grand, like, to the good. It was a money play. There was a lot of politics involved with my case because of my proximity and my affiliation with other individuals, right?
Yeah.
I was a college kid, man. Never been in trouble before. Mother, law enforcement background. I just graduated fucking college. If I look like this at 43, and I'm not esteeming myself, but imagine what I look like at 20 years old.
Yeah.
I look like a fucking kid.
You look like a child.
I still can't grow up fucking. My shit doesn't connect.
Yeah.
I hate your beard.
Yeah. He's the same way. He's the same way. He's the same way. He can't grow either.
Yeah, my fucking shit doesn't connect.
That's right.
I mean, that's why I wear all these skulls and shit, man. Yeah, it's an esteem thing, right?
Right.
My shit is low.
Yeah.
But look, yeah, fuck your beard. fucking full beard bastard.
Oh, actually, I shaved. Before you got here, I shaved a whole
Holy
half.
shit.
I shaved.
Well, yeah,
I
just
shaved a
lay it
half
on,
inch off
goddammit.
of everything today. This shit was fuck. I was a fur ball, man. I'm sorry.
These fuckers, I look like a kid,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When I went in front of the judge, my exchange was guilty plea in exchange for drop a charge, get sentenced by the judge, not go in front of a jury.
Mm-hmm.
The cop that was actually in there that I had the gunfight with, I met him prior. I met him prior at Roxy off. I don't know if you're on West Alabama Street, right?
Yeah.
I met this guy, got introduced to him by a female friend of mine who actually worked in the bank. So it just shows you, it was a little bit intricate. I was never supposed to have to use my gun, right? It was supposed to be in and out. Remedy a situation that had been brought to me, somebody was life or death situation. I felt that knowledge of their circumstance, had I not get involved because it was brought to me, I felt that that was worse than actually suffering whatever consequence for my action. That was my stance. So that was my stance entering into a courtroom. So I had a very cocky demeanor. Because in my mind, I was like, well, look, man, somebody was going to fucking die. Like, I robbed this bank because somebody was potentially going to fucking get killed. So what I was projecting to the fucking court environment and being oblivious to how this shit operates, what they're actually looking at, like, I was oblivious to that shit. I'm a 20-year-old. I'd never been in a fucking courtroom for shit.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in there, arms folded. My demeanor was fucked up. And the judge was looking at me like, who's this little young cocky motherfucker think he is? So when I went before, also in exchange for my plea, instead of 5 to 99, they capped off my sentencing range. It was 5 to 25. I went before the judge, Debbie Mamtu Strickland, in the 180th District Court of Houston, Texas. And she gave me the whole 25. PSI.
Yeah.
Pre-sentence investigation. My mother had a background in law enforcement. I just graduated from college with a degree in engineering. I'd never, not even a speeding ticket prior to this, I never had any situations, man. And I still got maxed out.
What'd the PSI say? What was the recommendation from the PSI? Do you know?
Well, pre-sentence investigation is just my background.
So they
Had
don't.
a mother in law enforcement. This guy just graduated from college with a degree.
They don't make
Never
any
had
kind
a
of.
back-
They don't make
didn't
any
give a fuck
recommendation
about
from that at all.
They didn't give a fuck about that. I had people send in what they call, like, even in the parole process, character letters.
Yeah.
Man, I had all that shit. All that shit. My bondsman was like my bondsman, I think it was a guy named Mr. Brown. I don't know his first name, but he even sent in a recommendation. I didn't have, and I had to do drug tests, and I had to check in. I had to check in. It's like I was on fucking probation or parole before. I never had any hiccups.
Yeah. On bond.
Still 25. So why did I get 25?
You're black.
That's easy. That's easy. No, it's easy for people to go in that lane. I don't go in that lane. I understand how me being black could potentially, not that it's a definite, but that it could potentially play a part in that. But I don't think that was it.
Is your association with everybody else?
Association.
Yeah.
Guilty by association.
Yeah.
Demeanor inside the courtroom.
Yeah.
Which I was hindsight. Yeah, I was a cocky motherfucker, boy. I'm young, but here's a motherfucker. Fuck that you just graduated from college. Like, you just shot in the direction of an officer. Like, you tripping. I don't give a fuck. But the thing was, how did this individual go from that to this? And being that he had the capacity to go this extreme cold to hot, no, we're not letting you out right now. You need to go sit down and think about it.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. You'll be all right. We know your background. We know you have support. We know. So it's only when you allow yourself to look at it from a very open and honest perspective that you start to understand.
So when you went in after that point, did you have that same mindset when you first went in, or did it take you some time?
I was hopeful because I know the legal process. I was raised around, my mother knows it.
But you were given an aggravated charge.
Aggravated. I knew what I had to do.
So you had to do half right off the bat.
Yeah, guaranteed. I had to do half of the 25 to become eligible, 12 and a half.
But you'd gone through, you said a writ of habeas corpus Going through.
I had an appeal attorney, Frank M. Shepard. I had an
Okay.
appeal attorney, and then I had a parole attorney as well. I forgot her name. But yes, man, I was still hopeful. I was still optimistic. I've always been that. Even in the darkness, I'm able to find light. So I was still very optimistic. But the reality, there came a point where I was like, you know what? It looks like all of this shit is exhausted. All of these measures to actually get me home sooner are exhausted. There's a greater purpose. Clearly, there's something else going on. I need to conduct myself in a certain manner, and I need to learn the lesson.
Yeah.
I need to learn this lesson. Whatever it is, I open myself up to something greater than me. I was like, you know what? All right, I accepted it. I accepted it after that point, like, hey, man, I'm going to have to do this. And there was a higher consciousness, whatever you want to call it. There was something greater than me working, but I still had faith without works is dead. It requires that I do something. And so what I held myself to was, stay the fuck out the way. Stay the fuck out the way. If you feel a certain way, write about it. Learn how to journal. A Crip out of South Park taught me how to write in music form. He was like, hey, if you want to do this, like, you might want to actually learn that there's structure to this. I learned how to do that. I had my mother send me in books about the business. I started dedicating myself to something else.
Yeah.
And I was chronicling everything through song form because I felt that it was more, people could receive it. If I'm going to be a sacrificial lamb, how can I communicate? People, universal language, music. So it became extremely intentional and consistent. Regardless of all the shit that goes on in there, I never got shit on my sleeve. You know what I mean? I never got shit on my sleeve. And that's very rare.
Yeah.
In that environment. It's very easy to get shit on your sleeve. And, you know, I attribute me not getting shit on my sleeve to my support system as well. I didn't do it by myself. I never went without. You know, I never went without. You know, and even coming home, I came into a situation that was more conducive to me being successful. It's just now all the requirements by businesses, companies, this, that, and the other have restricted me. But it's also that restriction has afforded me freedom.
Yeah.
I'm not confined by someone else's, structure. I get up, I do what I want to do. I deal with clients. If I'm going to deal with them, I can do it on my phone. You know what I mean? When I was doing logistics, I just stopped doing that because I got tired of being in the truck and I felt that I was a little bit disconnected from people. I draw from people. I don't give a fuck who you are. I draw from people. And so I needed to be back in an environment where I can network. DJing is a facilitator of that. It's not just about partying and bullshit. It's about having an opportunity to encounter different people and have these conversations. You know what I mean? And share and receive.
Yeah.
That's what it's about with me.
You should have done lives and shit from your truck, man. Why are you driving around just fucking talking into that camera?
Man, I cussed out everybody at Amazon. What? Cussed all their ass out. I let them know we're not equal, buddy. We're partners. You're not my employer. We're partners.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story. I used to get on their ass, boy. But for me, man, it's been a ride, man. But one, I wouldn't change shit. If that's one of your questions, would I change it? Do I have any regrets? No. I wouldn't change a thing. I would go through the fire.
Well, yeah, I mean, I asked you earlier, do you feel that, are you worse in any way whatsoever?
No. And you know what, man? Again, not to glorify the situation, but the outcome, what you could potentially receive or gain from a situation is based on how an individual responds. I learned that it's not the circumstances all the time. I understand that circumstances have an influence. I don't want to, I understand your environment. Goddamn, if I'm exposed to bullshit the entire time, I'm probably going to be on a little bit of bullshit. You know what I mean? But that doesn't have to be the end result. I understand that that individual can make a decision and how you respond is a determining factor, man, in terms of the outcome. And so I understand that. I understand that as a person. And had I not gone through my experiences in life, good or bad, however it's perceived, I wouldn't have that perspective. So my time spent there was beneficial in so many ways. And
thankfully enough, the individuals who will support me were of a certain cloth. They were cutting from a certain cloth. You know what I mean? To where they were able to stand with me. Not everybody's built for this shit, man. Not everybody's built for an individual who's willing to be a sacrificial lamb, who's willing to sacrifice the shit that comes with that. You know what I mean? Not everybody's built for it, man.
Yeah.
And again, I wouldn't advise. I've never been the type of person where I want to give bad advice.
So you're not going to advise to rob a bank?
Fuck no. I advise you go sit your ass down somewhere. Again, man. But I'm very aware of who I am. My level of confidence, but it comes from me fully understanding my strengths and my weaknesses.
Yeah.
I know exactly who I am, but I'm not the type of individual. I don't work on my weaknesses. Like, I think I can play basketball pretty well, but do I think that I can compete in the NBA on that level consistently? Fuck no. So that wouldn't be a pursuit of mine. You know what I mean? So I don't work on my weaknesses. I accept them, but I'm more geared towards utilizing my strengths.
Yeah.
I utilize those, and not in a selfish manner. If I can benefit you through conversation, whatever it may be, I prefer to do that. I like good karma, man.
Yeah.
But I'll cut somebody out real quick if they get on my bad side.
Well, I mean, when you first pulled up, you were telling me a story that just the other week you ended up you had an altercation with somebody.
Oh, it wasn't an altercation. It was I had to address some bullshit where a person, a man or guy or whatever you want to call him, was in his feelings. And he had brought my wife, into the situation. That's a foul. If you and I have communication, we have each other's number. If we piss each other off, we should still be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Let's gain some understanding.
Sure.
If you block me from being able to do that, it's inevitable. We live in the same area. I'm going to bump into you. And when I do, I'm going to address it. So it's less of an altercation. It was more that I needed to get it off my chest. I needed to give that individual an opportunity to say yes or no, which I already know what the answer is. I want to test your level of integrity. Are you going to, now that I'm here? Because when I wasn't here, you felt bold enough to say it.
Yeah.
And then you brought my wife into it. She's like, man, my wife is super cool. Like, not that she doesn't fuck up from time to time, but she's super cool. She's like, holy shit. Like, she doesn't do wrong. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? But the guy was in his emotions. We have an understanding. We can't be cordial because even if you aren't venomous, you bit me. You're still a snake. Yeah. You did? You didn't kill me. You didn't crush me, but you bit me. And I'll never forget that. So I'm not harboring any bad feelings. I just choose to protect my energy. I'm beyond it. So if you feel a way about it, then that's on you. That's something you have to deal with. But I've dealt with it already. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm past it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, look, man, I think we've been going now about 3 hours. And so I think we're at a pretty good spot. I want to wrap this up, but man, I do want to say to you, Derek, man, thank you. A big part of who I am today is, I believe, showing appreciation to the people that are around me and showing that I'm grateful for the life I have and all these other things. And I want to say thank you, very specifically to you, because you shared a very, very hard, very complicated portion of my life with me through your own experience. Mm-hmm. And a lot of what you went through helped influence me to who I wanted to be and who I am today. I'm officially a black man now. Mm-hmm. So I get,
You're right.
I'm in that group.
You're welcome at the barbecue anytime,
That's right. So, but man, I do, I talked to my mom about you, when I check in on you and see how you're doing, and you check in on me, man. I want to say from the deepest part of me, I want to say thank you.
Right.
You have been a great influence on my life, a great, very positive influence on my life, both through the struggles that you've been through and the choices that you made for your life going forward. So from the deepest part of me, above the waist though. No, we're not going to make it weird. We're gonna
not from your deck.
That's right. Not from my deck.
But from your patio.
Right,
and
from the
up,
patio and up. From the
Yeah.
patio and up.
Patio and up, goddammit.
Man, but thank you so much,
Yes.
Peace. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, man. Same sentiments, man. I appreciate everything. I appreciate you for being consistent. Uniquely you. We didn't get into the bald eagles and stuff. I saw Sir Patrick touch on those things.
Yeah,
But of course, there's many more opportunities moving ahead.
absolutely.
I appreciate you having this conversation, for allowing me into your space. Again, mostly for being who you are, man. You've been consistent in there, out here. I never saw you change. Never saw you involved in any bullshit. You've stood and you're standing. Continue to do that. I wish you nothing but success for you, your entire family, and for your viewing audience. Real quick, man. Manage Chaos. Make sure you hit the subscribe, the notification button. Make sure you share. Do all of that, man. This is necessary. These conversations, this platform that this man has created. We all need support, man. We're all linked, so make sure you support this man regardless and pay attention to what's being said. So again, I thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Peace.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
All right, so we'll.
Yes, sir.
So whoop, get them all out there. All right,
Appreciate it.
thank you, brother. Thank you so much.